Last week saw the meeting of two titans in the GTO class, and the result was exactly the type of door-banging, paint-scraping battle we hoped for. And while this week might be a bit lighter on big names as the iRacing 24 Hours of Daytona gets in full swing, there's no doubt that a circuit such as Suzuka should provide an excellent venue for the stalwarts of the series. Darkness may be permanent over the virtual Daytona, but here we light them up in the land of the rising sun. We'll see who can cap off the morning with a win as we get ready to watch round 6 of the iRacing Kamel GT series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Sean Ambrose. Behind the scenes, our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Ducky Beard. Sean, we've been here many times and in many different series, but in case our viewers are new to Suzuka, why don't you tell us a bit about it?
I certainly will, Joe. And you know what? Suzuka City, Japan, home to many things, including Godzilla. This track opened in 1962. Play started as a test track for Honda. We've got a variety of corner types here, a few high-speed portions, and a figure-8 layout that offered a more equal amount of left and right turns, made it perfect as a test track, but it's certainly a challenge as a racetrack. You know, they hosted F1 here in 63 and 64 before it went to Fuji. And they modified this track several times over the years. In 1983, they put the Casio Triangle in, and the Degner Curve was made into two corners, Degner 1 and Degner 2 now. And then Formula One returned in 1987, and Suzuka hosted the Japanese Grand Prix all but 2 years since. But you know, the best way to get an idea of what it's like to get around this track is to hop on board the GSRC lap guide and take a run around Suzuka.
All right, we've got Amjad Yaman in the GSRC Nissan, so let's do a lap around Suzuka. Down the front stretch, you're going to be climbing to around 170 miles an hour, so the entry to turn 1 will require incredible precision. Slow it as it's turning and get it to bite through turn 2, which acts as a continuous corner. Switch sides quickly, and then you're chucked into the S's. The cornering speed of this machine means you'll be carrying quite a bit of momentum, but that doesn't mean you can get lax on the racing line. Keeping up your rhythm and setting up for each subsequent corner will be critical through here, or else you'll lose time hand over fist. Once you come off the final left-hander, you'll be flying through Dunlop, which is a frighteningly fast, flat-out sweeper. Hug the car off to the left and then spot your brake marker for Degner 1. You've got to be very aggressive on that inside curve, get it settled, and blow it up even more for Degner 2. As you fly under the bridge, the acceleration of this beast makes it a very short burst to the hairpin. That kinked entry will test the brave because you can get on the brakes very, very late. Try to square off the exit, but be careful about getting back onto the power. The turbo lag means you won't feel it until it hits the higher revs, and those low gear corners are gonna be touchy. You've got a little breather with turn 12, which is another gentle curve where you won't have to lift. However, make sure to keep the car off to the right to line up for spoon. The first apex here has a quick entry with a little squirt in the middle of the turn. The second apex is much slower and much more important to nail. Coming off of here will require excellent throttle control to get the most out of the long backstretch. The sooner you're on the gas, the more straight line speed you'll extract. 130R will be flat out, but I still wouldn't recommend trying it too wide. Drift the car off to the left and then try to get it slowed up for the Casio Triangle, where you're likely to see some overtakes. Once again, this is going to be a real test of who has the best throttle control. The turbo is so powerful that drivers will be feathering it all the way around the final right-hand bend. The fastest cars out of here will be the ones making the most out of their right foot. Hopefully you kept it all together and have now finished a lap around Suzuka.
Thankfully, that lap was in the Nissan and not the Audi, so we could get through that a little bit quicker. It's a long way around here. But let's give a quick trip around the points as well, and starting with the Prototypes Drivers' Championship. Antti Lepisto leads that over Keith Ritchie by a scant 1 point. How about that for a tight battle? Jamie Hall sits in third, a little ways back. He's going to have to get some good results if he wants to get ahead of them, with this being the halfway mark right now at this race. Olenek 115 points back from our leader in fourth, and then Philip Blake kind of with steady results getting himself into fifth, but nothing really phenomenal so far. Let's jump over to the GTO Drivers' Championship, of course. And with that, Michael Houghton leading the way, with Vili Ruola about 54 points back. We haven't seen a whole lot of Hagner this season, unfortunately, and that's why we have him not at the top so far. Ben Laughter is quite a ways behind. It's got big gaps all the way down until you get to 4th and 5th. Home Camp and Malia in a tight battle there for that 4th position. Sean, there's of course the Constructors' Championship and the VCR fight, so why don't you get us up to speed on those?
Let's take a look at the Constructors' points here now. And there you go, the VCR Prototype Challenge. We have the All-American racers, Richie and Olenek there at the top. 94 points back. You see Lepisto and Iamaki, Busby, Miller, High Life. They're in second in a tight battle. 1 point separates them there. Bayside Motorsports, Hall and Lake. And then 4th, ways back there to 4th and 5th with Jost and Nissan Motorsports. Now, let's look at the team championship here. GTOs, and then we go, and you see Laughter and Hohenkamp there at the top. That Commodore team, Mind Trick guys having a pretty good season here so far. Ruola, Shanahan within striking distance, I think they're in second, and then a little bit farther back, you've got the other Mind Trick team, the Windows team, Houghton and Quinn there in third, and drop all the way back, 508 points back. That's Leitzinger Racing there. Trent Grade Thompson trying to dig it out from 4th.
And as the first of the times piloting for the GTP cars, Keith Ritchie up at the top. He's back this week. Managed to get in the race this time. Unfortunately, was not able to join at the Nürburgring. Missed out on quite a battle over there.
Boy, he did.
But yeah, real quick while we let the rest of those first lap times of qualifying trickle in, let's take a look at the race details so that you can get up to speed. If you've never watched AI Racing, a Kamel GT race, this is, as I mentioned, round 6 of 12. This will be the halfway marker. And this is not an endurance one. This is a sprint one. So 40 minutes of racing. And of course, that means no stopping for fuel scheduled. Now, you can screw that up, of course, and have to come in for fuel. That pretty much ruins your race. This is official racing, and that's how they score the VCR points in this series, which is separate from the official iRacing Championship. You have to elect to be in. If you've been following this and you're wondering why we didn't see up at the top of the GTO's Collar Jansen, that's why he has to opt into this championship, VCR Championship. Now, looking at the GTO times, Jody Hagner back again, Sean. And Jansen not. He's over in Daytona right now, the virtual Daytona. So looks like he's not going to be able to give us a repeat of last week's battle.
Yeah, Yoni back and right back where he is comfortable on the provisional pole right now. Followed pretty closely, though, by Billy Ruola. I mean, that's 0.2 of a second separate those two. Shanahan, 3 seconds, a good solid 3 seconds back. So look for a great battle here between Hagner and Ruola. Unless Shanahan can get it together and get a better second lap, those two are going to be slugging it out off the start for sure.
Well, speaking of which, as we watch Brian Shanahan, Jody Hagner's coming up to complete his second lap now, just coming through 130R. And he's going to be followed right behind him by Billy Ruola. So we'll get a quick shot to see who's got what here on their second lap. This is our pole sitter that we're riding on board with, the Finn, Jody Hagner. Can he improve his time? It's a 2.4. As he crosses the line, he does by about 1/10. Billy Ruola crosses and is not able to get past him. So that is going to be your front row unless somebody else gets a better time. Shanahan can't improve as well. No better than third for him. A few of our GTPs are getting their second lap in. In fact, up at the top of them, Keith Ritchie still on the pole. Olenek still in second. Lepisto in third. And actually, he just finished his last lap and is not able to go up in position at all. He's going to be about 1/10 behind Olenek, so a close fight there. Wow, looking at the times on the GTO, Sean. 2 flat for Hagner and Ruola, but then they'll look at third with Scurry.
Yeah.
Yeah, a 3 second difference. No,
Yeah.
wait, actually about 2.3 it looks like.
Yeah.
Between them. My
Really?
goodness.
Yeah, it's a lot of separation there, and significantly, at least around this track, significantly slower than the Nissans. which means traffic will certainly be an issue. This track a little bit longer, though. It won't be an issue right off the bat. Only a 40-minute race today, so it should be fun. Look for passing opportunities down in turns 1 and 2, the hairpin, Casio Triangle. You can get in trouble in a couple of those same spots, especially turn 1. The Degners, 1 and 2, always trouble for all drivers. And look for the action to be hot there today, Joe.
I'm pretty sure at least a few of them will fall victim to Degner 1 or 2, as both of them can trip you up in their own unique way. So with that, let's go to the grid. Keith Ritchie on the pole with Rob Olenek starting on the outside of that front row. Ante Lepisto will begin in third with Lear Hughes starting in fourth. Nicholas Mukanos is in fifth, and Ardo Iamaki starting P6 today. Then into row 4, Clayton McLeod starting seventh, followed by Martin Krejcik and Fabian Jungluth in ninth. Rounding out the top 10, it'll be Philip Lake. John Hill starts just outside of there in row 6 in 11th with Louis Emerton, a name that I don't think we've seen here on the broadcast. He'll start 12th. John Keefe in 13th. Mark Cohn in 14th. We got a couple cars that did not get lap times in the GTPs. That's James Bowen and Brian Pinner. So let's go to the GTOs.
All right. And in a smaller field in the GTOs today, only 8 of them. Yoni Hagner, though, on the pole. Villarreola, they're in second. Third, going to go to Franco Scurry. Brian Shanahan going to round out row 2. They're in fourth. Bronislav Romanek in fifth. Hideki Koivico sixth. Jose Wilcox, they're in seventh today. Eighth, going to go to Ralph Cummins. And Daniel Oliva in ninth. And that completes your GTO field.
If you weren't able to watch the Lotus 49 broadcast just a couple hours ago, you may be noting that I sound a little stuffed up. Apologies for that. I'm just getting over being sick, so having to just trudge through these 4 broadcasts that I'm working on today for GSRC. I'm hoping this goes away soon. But as we watch the roof pace car, waiting for the rest of the field to grid up, as soon as it takes off, we go racing for 40 minutes here in round 6 at Suzuka in the iRacing Kamel GT Series, right in the thick of the iRacing Daytona 24 Hours. Most of these drivers have been coming off of stints themselves. Some have expressed that they might be a little bit slow and off the pace, having not gotten the practice time in that they wanted.
Yeah, our old buddy Phil in and around the lake was one of them. Just came off 3 stints, 3 hours in the car and right in to his Nissan and ready to go. Kind of.
Kind of, yeah. That's a good way of putting it. As we come up to the Casio Triangle, roof pace car cruising along at a nice, cool 40 miles an hour. Taking them through that final chicane. Then Keith Ritchie, once it peels off in a pit lane, will have control of the field. Look at them stack up. Everybody wanting to be nice and close. Pace car is off. Keith Ritchie accelerates away, gets a fantastic jump over second place. In fact, Rob Olenek has to worry about Ante Lepisto, who is already looking to the inside. Behind them, we're looking at 3 wide down into turn 1. Not easy to do already. We've got an incident as a car gets tipped sideways. Looks like that was Clayton McLeod who somehow gets it going, or actually that might have been Lear Hughes. I think that was Lear Hughes. Let's go to the GTOs.
Okay. Hagner gets off to a great jump, as usual. Villarreola, though, following very closely. It was Franco Scurry that really got a good head of steam as they got started out of the Casio Triangle, and he finds himself stuck there in third place. Hagner off to the races here and running, starting to maybe pull away a little bit from Ruola right on him.
We expect to see these two start to stretch away unless there was a big mistake by a lot of drivers in
James Bowen off as the GTOs get by. He's off there. Now he's rolling.
And he just outbraked himself into that corner. Not exactly sure what happened there as he gets it going without having made contact with anything. Bowen was known for being a little bit off the pace at Bathurst a couple weeks ago. We'll see if he's managed to fight a little bit as we ride on board with Clayton McLeod. This is up in the 5th position, looking to overtake Nick Bucanos as they come up and hit 130R. Bucanos himself in a nice fight with Rob Olenek for a podium spot. Nobody able to do anything through that final chicane. So your order as they complete the first lap is Richie, Lepisto, Olenek, Mukanos, and McLeod. There we see our overall leader, McLeod, close behind the... Whoa.
Oh, trouble for Antti Lepisto up there. Close one.
Olenek tries to take advantage, not able to do anything with it out of that first hairpin. And this has allowed the cars behind to close up to them as Mukanos and McLeod now getting into a 4-car fight for second place.
Back here in the GTOs, Bronislav Robanek having trouble getting this race started. Joe's Jose Wilcox got right by him. Made it look easy. Oh, and Robanek getting a run at Wilcox there. Almost gets in the rear, and you got to check up. There comes Ralph Cummins by.
That bit him hard as Cummins demotes him instead of Robanek managing to get a position. So Bronislav now in 8th in class. With that, let's looks like there's really not a lot of action in the GTOs at the moment, so we'll have to duck away and take a look at how that fight for second in the GT. Oh, Niamaki with a problem. This is in Spoon. This was driver error. You're going to see.
Yeah. Yeah, the front end.
Wow.
Front end bites on him, Joe.
That changed in a hurry, and that other car that has an issue is Fabian Jungbluth, was another driver who expressed that he might be a little bit out of practice. He had a similar problem where the car just snapped on him. Did you notice something there, Sean?
Thought I saw something with Olenek, but I guess not. No, everything's fine.
Well, they are in a pretty tight fight up there as we watch Jungbluth. This fight for second is with Lepisto and Olenek, and then Mukanos and McLeod still very, very tight with them. This is really our closest fight on the track, and not a bad one to be watching. Lepisto has to worry about any more mistakes because even though he is able to hold on to position for the first time, a second one is likely to give up not just one spot, but potentially 3. Through the hairpin they swing. And he's found his legs at this point as he starts to stretch away from Rob Olenek, who's right on board with the tail of the train, with Clayton McLeod, who's been hunting down Nicholas Mukanos. Up in his Spoon they go. We saw it twice in one corner with 2 cars snapping loose. Is that a pretty common issue through there, Sean, in the Nissan?
I didn't have trouble with it, but, you know, the weather conditions change from session to session, Joe, and right now we've got a moderately warm track, 84 degrees. Shouldn't be as much of a problem as we've seen so far, but I'm not out there driving either, so...
As we continue to watch this battle, why don't we duck away for the battle for the final podium spot in GTO? Brian Shanahan is being hounded by Franco Scurry. Scurry, if I recall, started in 3rd in his class, so he's gone down a position.
Yeah, Scurry trying to get a little back here with Shanahan. Now it's Shanahan that's actually up 3 right now, and I'm sorry, up 1. And, of course, Scurry trying to get that spot back, but Shanahan's got good pace right now. The Virginian seems to have this dialed in, maybe not driving with the team, and maybe got some practice time in here.
It certainly seems to have the legs under him now, even though he didn't in qualifying, as they close up together through the Casio Triangle. No opportunity there for Franco Scurry, so he sits and waits behind. Bit of a different line between each of them out of that final corner. Shanahan hugging the inside quite a lot more, and then Scurry likes to swing out early. Now they hit turn 1. Much tighter to that first apex for Scurry, and that allows him to close in quite a bit. You can see those 4 rings incredibly clear as we ride on the gearbox of Shanahan. doing through the S's, just having to stay patient and hold with his competitor. Up at the front, we're not missing anything because it's all spread apart for second, third, and fourth.
You know, I'll tell you what, Ruolo doing a really, really good job of keeping Hagner close here. Hagner not able to run away. Now, those two have started to separate themselves pretty well from the rest of the GTOs, but I think we got a good battle brewing here between Hagner and Ruolo. Just give it a little bit of time.
Not close yet for lap traffic coming into play, but we will alert you when that becomes an issue. Right now, Keith Ritchie only has traffic within his own class in the form of James Bowen that he's going to put a lap on. It's a little bit different issue compared to lapping the Audis. As we watch the Toyota of our leader. Not been the usual dominant season we've seen from Ritchie this season, Sean.
No, and you know what? Sometimes things just happen that way. It's racing, right? You still got to run these races, and sometimes lady luck isn't always on your side. But so far, Ritchie off to a good start in his way early days to be talking about his possible victory. But the best way to get back on your horse is to do it with a victory.
What if we could take a peek at 6 in the GTOs? Ralph Cummins has a good battle going on behind him between Wilcox and Romanek.
Yeah, this is as close as any 3 cars on track right now.
And again, this is 6th, 7th, and 8th in your GTO class as we ride on board with Cummins, who leads the way for these 3. Looking back at the car of Jose Wilcox. Down into turn 1. Not much of an attempt there as they all just stay in line. Thought that maybe Romanek had a run. Meanwhile, we understand that there may have been an issue with Lewis Emerton. It looks like our 3rd Nissan to have an issue into Spoon. He was sent off by Ardo Yamaki poking his nose in. No contact, of course, as you saw. Here's the replay. Just going to shake him loose there, Sean.
Try it.
Welcome back to Suzuka Circuit. Our apologies for the technical glitch, but looks like we are up and running once again. Your leader, if you're just joining us overall, is Keith Ritchie in the GTP class. Yoni Hagner leads the way in the GTOs. I'm joined by Sean Ambrose to keep track of these 2 classes for 40 minutes of racing in round 6 of the iRacing Kamel GT series. Out of a bit of a scare as we've started to get some lap traffic swinging through some of our battles in the GTOs. That fight that we were watching briefly ago between Wilcox, Romanek, and Cummins had all kinds of trouble trying to stay out of the way of these Nissans swinging through. Oof, you can see Ralph Cummins going through Dunlop there.
I mean, he knew they were coming, and he did the best he could to just try and stay out of the way.
It was Jungbluth and Ardo Yamaki in a hard fight for position 9th in the GTPs. Bit of a wheel off there for Jungbluth. Ducks out of the way, and I think that was a big lift to let the Finn through. Just ahead of them, we got a fight between Lake and Krejcik as well, as they have to deal with the Audis. Going through Spoon, which has really been the Achilles heel of a number of these Nissans so far. 3 cars already have snapped loose, have to take to the runoff. Thankfully, nobody's hit anything or each other yet. Still 27 minutes left to go on the clock here. So only a quarter of the way through this race. A lot left to decide who's going to come out on top. That's Lear Hughes that we saw for a second there, up ahead of Martin Krejcik, who we ride on board with now, looking through the 007 cam.
Watching John Keefe back here navigate his way through a battle. And that battle between Wilcox and Bronislaw Romanek. A lot of traffic coming through here for these two. Hasn't broken up the battle, though.
Romanek's been the center of everything recently in this race. So we'll see as they deal with Wilcox. He squeaks through, unfortunately, in the S's, which is not what Wilcox would want. Excuse me, that was Hill squeaking through Wilcox.
Ooh, Shanahan just gets by Scurry.
You can see that on screen. This is a fight for a podium spot.
And he didn't quite pull it off. He got around, and then Scurry took it back.
And Scurry must have gotten by when we weren't watching. Wonder if that happened while we were off air for a moment there. Remember, it was Shanahan who had gotten himself into third, and Scurry lost the position early. That GTP, that's Krejcik trying to find a way through. Oh! Just coming around the outside, and he is hustling because you can see that Texaco Haviland machine just behind him is the car of Philip Lake hounding him. They come up to the Casio Triangle. Are we going to see a dive to the inside? No, staying in line does Philip Lake.
Boy, and Iamaki coming up on this just the wrong time. Trying to navigate his way through the Casio Triangle. Now he's clear.
Iamaki with early trouble has been trying to make up ground. Typically a front runner looking at podiums, not squeaking within the top 10 as he is right now. He's gaining ground on both Lake and Krejcik despite the traffic. Not missing anything up at the front of either class. Ritchie still leads by 3.5 seconds over Lepisto. Hagner still leads over Rolla by about 2.5. Really, the fight that I'm most curious about is between Scurry and Shanahan. It's one of the tightest top fights that we've got. They let the car of John Keefe go through them. Oh, big mistake out of Degner, too, for Franco Scurry. And now Shanahan is all over the back of him. John Hill approaches. He's got no battle right now, so he could wait patiently if he so decides. Tries to swing it around the outside, but can't get the speed off the quarter. Sneaking up to them, coming up the spoon curve. I think he's going to get one, but I'm not sure that he's going to get two. Scurry takes to the inside. Hill splits them momentarily, has to wait patiently.
Very patient indeed. Nice job. Nice work there by Hill.
And that has separated Scurry and Shanahan by a number of car lengths. Lewis Emerton now goes between them. Whoa, that was tight. Timed it perfectly, though. Beautiful stuff by Lewis to be able to see what was going on and slip inside of Scurry. Oh, summit point. We missed a pass between Lepisto and Olenek. Rob now up into P2. Now this was facilitated by Lepisto, who had a mistake into the S's. Here we go. Let's look at the replay. Here, let's take a look. The fin comes up through 1 and 2. Looks pretty clean through there. No mistakes. And then suddenly, into the first part of the S's, I'm still not entirely sure, Sean. He just slams the brakes and straight lines it.
A mistake, a miscalculation on his part. I'm not sure.
Maybe
kind of odd.
Yeah, maybe he started to feel the car go and just double foot mashed it, straight lined it through. I don't know. Well, whatever the case, the number 4 of Rob Olenek gets himself into P2, and by a good margin. He's got 1.3 over Lepisto right now. Has to hold on for the second half of the race, and that's not guaranteed. Ante could still have the pace to try and retake that position. Yamaki as well, speaking of getting positions, overtakes Philip Blake. They're ahead of Martin Krejcik. Nice little three-car battle here. Let's see what Mark can do now that Philip has been demoted. And all this while, the GTP is having to deal with the Audis, who they've mostly gotten through. I'm not seeing many ahead of them at this point.
Yeah, they pretty much have cleared the field. We've got a couple of guys here at the back now making their way here past Billy Riola, and now going to catch Hagner here in just a moment. I see 3 cars there. John Hill, Emerton, and Penner.
Despite this being a sprint race for this series, this is looking a lot more like an enduro because everybody has spread apart out on track. Closest fight I'm seeing is Bronislav Robanek and Jose Wilcox. This is for 6th in the GTO class. You can see coming up the front stretch, they've got the car of Mark Cohn coming up. Hopefully it won't interrupt him as he sees this battle brewing. Cohn very much by himself, and in fact, they're not getting a blue flag for him. He is on the same lap as these GTOs.
Yeah, Cohn trying to pick up some time here and some laps. But Joe, they spread out here. Why? Well, it's a long circuit and it's a challenging circuit. A lot of opportunities to lose time here. I don't think I'm really revealing anything to you. You know how difficult this circuit can be. It's treacherous.
It's always the phrase I hate to hear when learning about a track is it's easier to lose time here than there is to gain. And
yeah,
so
exactly.
True around so much of the circuit.
I mean, if you haven't figured out Degner 1 and 2, oh my word, the amount of time you could lose in just those 2 turns alone is incredible.
As we continue to watch this fight between the number 16 and the number 21, Bronislav really putting the pressure on Wilcox, but can't do anything with it. Somewhere along the line, they lost Ralph Cummings, and I'm not exactly sure what happened to Ralph.
Well, he's been in the pits for about 6.5 minutes now. I didn't see what happened. He's taking the car behind the wall.
Clearly it's something serious, or it could have been something with real life, but as we ride on board the yellow machine, he's got a good draft coming up the backstretch. He looks to the inside. This is Robanek, who are on board. Are they going to go too wide through 130R? They're going to try. Brave stuff by Wilcox around the outside. Trusts his competitor, and he's paid off by it as he holds on to the position. That is gritty stuff by the Iberia driver.
Yeah, real gritty indeed.
That is one of the hallmarks. Oh, and the battle. I've got to go back to calling play-by-play here because he's not done. Robanek to the inside, down into turn 1. Can he get it done this time? And yet again, Wilcox not giving up, holding on the low grip outside line. Can he carry the momentum? Yes, he can. He comes back at him. It's going to switch to the inside. They bang doors into the S's. Excuse me. And finally, it goes south for Wilcox as he has to come back to the track.
We'll go on board Wilcox here. Try and get an idea of what it was like from just above his car.
So hard to go too wide through these S's. Oh, this is just a racing deal to me, Sean.
Yeah, and I mean, you saw how slight the contact was. I think it maybe is more reactionary to the contact than anything. I don't think it was the contact that directly caused that.
I tell you what, that impressed me with Jose. I feel like that shows what that driver is made of. Twice around the outside of a corner, he did not give up on that position.
Well, hopefully he can catch back up here. Oh, he just spun it again there, actually, in the hairpin.
Wilcox? No, he's still going, actually.
I'm sorry, he was wide in the hairpin.
Okay.
I had a building and a tree in the way, and it looked like he had spun it, actually, and he just went wide. We're good.
But up in the prototypes, we wondered about Rob Olenek and Antti Lepisto. Well, that is stretched away. Oh, Krejcik. Krajcik with a big problem coming out of the hairpin. And Sean, this looks like a case of that turbo lag.
Yep. I think you hit the nail on the head, Joe. Oy.
Oh, it's sudden. That onboard just gives you a good idea, Sean, of he had no time to react. The car just snapped.
It's our friend Mr. Otis likes to say, it looks like it got evil on him there.
Ryan Otis driving for a Turn 2 team over in the Daytona 24 right now. Also a great driver in the Pacific Majors as Philip Lake. Oh, no. It goes south coming out of the final quarter. Let's look at the replay. I did not see what happened to Philip here. Is it another case of turbo lag? Oh, kind of.
Yeah, it might have been. You know, he wasn't the only one that had trouble. Clayton McLeod had trouble too. And now Lear Hughes has caught him.
We come back live. A lot of Nissans suddenly find themselves struggling. Did the tires go off on you around here?
You know what? They will. Yeah, you can definitely beat the tires up at this track. And sliding it around. Like I said, it's only 84 degrees on track, but you can still make him angry. And Clayton made him angry and paid for it. It's brought Lear Hughes to the battle, but Lear having trouble getting around Bronislav Robanek there, and that slowed him up.
Oh, I love this. I didn't get a good look at Lear Hughes' paint scheme until now. Perfectly appropriate with the Nissan Rising Sun on that car. That's a very cool looking scheme. I like that a lot. So, one of the things I was about to mention, though, with Ryan Otis, very good driver in the Pacific Majors, which is now just the Majors the first time this year. And it kicks off this weekend, actually.
Yeah, it does indeed. And looking forward to now being a part of that major series here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Really, really fun season ahead, Joe.
Absolutely. And these cars, actually, the Daytona 2.4. So check them out tomorrow night, as that'll be relevant programming. So we watch Rob Olenek dealing with the traffic, continuing to lose touch on the master of this series, swinging around the outside of Hideki Koivisto there. And unfortunately being hounded by A.T. Lepisto, who's running him down. But Richie stretched away to about 7 seconds now over Olenek. Oof. Oh, wow, things are getting tight with traffic. Olenek just dipping some wheels off, and that cloud of dust that we saw ahead of Lepisto was Shanahan having to completely take off the circuit to let those two through.
Yeah, Shanahan did a good job just getting out of the way, letting those guys get through.
He gets it going once again in that Audi GTO. Lepisto, really one of the closest fights that we've got now. Up to within 2/10. Oh, but the exit balked a little bit by Franco Scurry, who really didn't do anything wrong, just was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Wrong car.
Yeah, really. Oh, look at this. Great run out of 130R. Here comes A.T. Lepisto. Defensive move by Rob Olenek down into the Casio triangle. He is not going to give up this second place willingly. Another good run. Slipstream helping him out. Lepisto looking to the inside. How hard is he going to force it? Takes the outside line. Olenek stays defensive. We've seen the GTOs go too wide through here. Can the GTPs make it through too wide? Holding on, gritty stuff from the Finn. Still not done. Hopefully they don't come together like we saw before with the Audis. Still side by side through the S's. Nobody is willing to give way. And finally, the Club West driver comes out on top.
We worked on that for a while. I'll tell you who's been doing work. Joni Hagner. We've barely talked about Joe, and why? Because, well, he's been leading the GTO since the green flag dropped. Did a great job just right now of getting by Daniel Oliva, who now finds himself a lap down.
where we thought he and Rolla maybe would streak away and have a battle to themselves, but only half of that came true.
Yeah.
Rolla, 7.5 seconds back. And then how about this? I believe, am I seeing 34 seconds between Rolla and Scurry?
You are. That is correct.
Hazel. Crazy stuff.
And Scurry's been good today. I mean, he's been solid, but those two Finns are just insane in this Audi.
Just untouchable.
Oh, who was that spinning? Lewis Emerton spinning. That was back in Degner. Spun out of Degner 1. Right in front of Jose Wilcox, actually. And Wilcox had to make an evasive move.
Yeah, he was trying to chase down Pinner, I think, and unfortunately got caught out. We saw on the replay that the mind punt, as we've been talking about earlier, shook himself off the track.
We're going to get that trending today. Hashtag mind punt. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I misunderstood. Our director officially not taking credit for that. Not taking credit for that.
Okay, all right.
Now that I want to get it trending, he wants to make sure he doesn't claim any credit to it.
All right. Well,
the inspiration was enough, Amjad. Thank you.
Yeah. As we watch Rob Olenek continue to be chased by Antti Lepisto. Must have used a little bit of traffic to get himself clear because it's got back up to 0.8 of a second between second and third. And in the action that has started to pick back up since we returned to air, it's now down to 10 minutes left on the clock, so we are close to the end of this race. With that, let's get the top 10 of each of our classes. Keith Ritchie, our leader, has led every lap, actually. And Rob Olenek, about 8 seconds back, not really a threat to the overall lead. Antti Lepisto is a threat to him, sitting in third. Has now cut it down to about 0.6 of a second since we last looked at them.
Oh boy, big trouble.
Whoa! Who
big
was that?
Trouble. Ruola and boy, Ruola and Oliva.
So it looks like Daniel Oliva
and Olenek
a little bit slow.
No, Olenek, yeah, we'll have to go on board with Olenek. He just gets by that. Yikes.
Yeah. Again, I feel like this is a racing incident because poor Rolla, he had no idea that GTP was coming and was more focused on getting past Oliva.
So much going on right there. And it's on board of Olenek here.
Olenek is incredibly lucky. New England driver, by the way. I think I misidentified him as a Club West driver. Somehow was able to keep going after having to dive off track to get around that mess.
Oh, Yoni's not going to get caught now, I don't think. Tough break for Rolla, man.
Well, great stuff for Scurry, who now finds himself in second. Shanahan on the podium.
And that's what Scurry gets for having a good drive today. You know, staying out of trouble and being persistent. He's got himself in a podium spot now.
Well, that was a very brief bit of chaos here. We used to see a little bit more here in the iRacing Kemmel GT series. This has been a bit tepid compared to other ones that we've seen, believe it or not.
Well,
so we watched the number 12 of Scurry.
I think it goes back to what you were saying earlier about how spread out they've gotten, Joe. I think that's really helped things out a bit today. And maybe, you know, I don't know, a few less cars than we're generally used to seeing may have contributed to that. But the fact that they got away from each other and spread out, I think, has been the biggest factor. But that was quite an incident.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, that I feel like the Daytona 24 may have contributed slightly. As we used to see maybe more like 30 to 40 cars in this series per race.
Well, they've been splitting, actually. The past couple weeks, I think they've split, haven't they?
Yeah, indeed. They've upped the competition to that degree. McLeod's in the pits for some things. We see here on screen what happened to him. I'm going back to investigate.
A little bit. I don't see anything. It got a little bit of damage, but can't. Did he miss it on fuel? Maybe.
Well, he took a spare car. We saw it pop into place there.
Yeah.
No spare cars, of course, with this being a C-class race, so that must have been just been getting damage repaired.
Again, I'm wondering if he maybe missed it on the fuel, Joe. There was a lot of debate leading up to this race as to what the fuel should be.
Yeah, and you know that would make sense because it gets down to the end. He has a much clearer picture of whether or not he can make it. So I think that's a good call. He must have just barely eked it too close on fuel, and that sends him backward into ninth.
Wow, boy, not much left here in this one. I can't believe how quickly this race has gone by.
I was thinking the same thing you were. I was looking through the timing and scoring, and it's just everybody's kind of focusing on their own thing. The closest fight that we've got is between 10th and 11th. That's John Keefe and Martin Krejcik. You see the tic-tac machine of Martin Krejcik. That's honestly one of my favorite paint schemes we have in this series.
Almost makes me want a tic-tac right about
I was thinking the same thing. Orange ones, though. Those are my favorites.
Great commercials in the 70s, by the way. That's a little dated for most of you right now. Yeah. Another great comment from our director. What's the 70s? There you go.
Yeah. All right. Oh, John Keefe. Oh, no. Picked the wrong side. You have to make split decisions in this series, and unfortunately, he picked the wrong split. That's going to allow Krejcik to really gain on him. This could offer an opportunity for the driver from Central Eastern Europe. John Keefe hailing from the Hoosier State as they come back to the line, and now he's got his legs back under him. He stretches away. Four and a half minutes left to go on the clock. And meanwhile, Antilopisto threatening once again. Oh, to the inside, which is going to switch back to the outside. This is where we've seen drivers have problems. Rob Olenek. Oh, no!
Big mistake by Olenek.
To get on the power. And you can see that cost him P2 right there alone. Not giving up, holding on to the back of Antilopisto. The Finn doesn't go defensive, though. Holds him off. It's been a long time coming since Lopisto lost it into the S's all the way until these final couple laps. And finally, he's back ahead of his rival, Rob Olenek. But they've got traffic up ahead. That's Bronislav Romanek down to the inside. Lets them through nice and easily. Now they hit the S's. If Lopisto can just hold on for 3 more minutes, he's got this one in the bag.
You know, there is one battle that I don't know is quite over, Joe. Keefe really looking over his shoulder heavy right now to hang on to that 10th spot in this field. Krejcik really pushing the issue here.
He's trying his heart out. Unfortunately, it just does not look like he has the pace to get up under the gearbox of John Keefe. Unless Keefe makes a mistake, he's going to have to settle for this position. So your 2 leaders again, if you're just joining us here at the last of this race, Yoni Hagner has led the way the entire way in the GTOs, and Keith Ritchie has led the entire way in the GTPs. Neither of them looking like they're going to be phased, although, wow, Lopisto's actually cut down the gap. Has Ritchie just been managing his pace here?
I think so.
Ritchie's last lap is showing a 155. No. Let me see if that's right.
Okay, and maybe somebody's really pushing it to the limit on fuel here, Joe.
Ooh. All right, the regular pace is back up.
We had a so we had a timing and scoring spike there.
Still 2 laps to go. You can ignore that final lap. We're still sorting out some bugs with ATVO. It's been having trouble predicting our timing. We'll get hopefully that bug worked out soon enough, but Keith Ritchie does have to do 1.5 more laps. That means more traffic as he comes up on Koivisto and Shanahan. This is actually for position as well. Well, this snuck up on us.
It did, and that's my fault. I'm sorry. It really has kind of snuck up on us. It's a great battle.
Oh, wow. Keith got really close to Shanahan through there. Oh, and Shanahan ducking off track and actually lets Koivisto through. And Koivisto getting passed by Lepisto trying to come by.
Brian, what are you doing, buddy? Shanahan just letting everybody get by there, and Koivisto just takes advantage of it.
I wonder if he saw first and second pretty close on track in the GTPs and was trying to make way, but just wasn't aware that his own competitor was coming through. Well, this has gotten incredibly close now because Keith Ritchie only has 1.3 seconds over Lepisto. And as they come to the line, white flag waves. All right, he's got lap traffic in the form of Brian Penner up ahead of him. Is Penner going to be an issue? We thought this was a done deal in the GTPs, but no such thing now. He gets by, allows them to separate them momentarily. And that holds up Lepisto. Lepisto now doesn't just have to worry about the lead ahead, but Rob Olenek sticking his nose in potentially. Boy, this got hot in a hurry.
McLeod's out of fuel. Clayton McLeod's out of fuel.
Oh, wow.
Clayton's out of fuel. He's drifting, heading down in the spoon.
So despite taking an extra stop, it still wasn't enough for Clayton. I think he needs to get a crew chief out there, Sean.
Maybe so.
Oh! Lepisto gets tipped around by Rob Olenek. Olenek holds up, lets him hold on to the position. Fair fighting between this two. We can't get a replay, unfortunately, but into the hairpin. I can't tell you if it was a dive or if maybe Lepisto chopped him off or what, but they came together, and Lepisto went around halfway, got the car back going forward. This has allowed Keith Ritchie to have a much safer lead. What was 1 second is now 5. Around 130R, there's the coasting car of Clayton McLeod. Through the Casio triangle, Keith Ritchie. There were some doubts there in the final laps, but he comes away with another win here in round 6 of the iRacing Kamel GT Series. Got quite a ways before Joni Hagner gets to the line. So Lepisto and Olenek finish in that order, 2nd and 3rd. Here we see the number 2 of Joni Hagner. The Finn, yet again, putting on a great performance. He's been missing a little bit this season, but with Carl Janssen not here to hound him, it's been practically a romp.
It's been a clinic today for him. Yeah. he's sticking the tail out a little
celebrating.
Bit. Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. I mean, Scurry a full 40, almost 48 seconds behind him. In fact, those guys have already completed their race. And Joni coming around here from last time through 130.
Yeah, that the other drivers are on a different lap since they were behind the GTP leader, which means Joni Hagner is already crowned your winner in this race, but as he drifts it through Casio, and the final look at that.
There he goes.
All right, that's the Joni we know and love. He's going to take the win in the GTO class in round 6 of the iRacing Kamel GT Series. With that, let's call that a race. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews, but stick around because we'll have all the upcoming races here on GSRC on your screen. Welcome back to Suzuka Circuit. We just watched round 6 of the iRacing Kamel GT Series. Keith Ritchie managed to come home with another win. We thought that maybe it would be an easy one for him as he stretched away, but then in the last couple laps, he was run down, and a few worries were assuaged when, unfortunately, the cars behind him came together. Eti Lupisto came out on top, and that he gets second. Rob Olenek winds up rounding out the podium. Nicholas Mukanos got a 4th place with Lear Hughes in 5th, and Arno Iamaki finishing 6th, which is where he started, but man, he made it hard for himself after a mistake early on. Fabian Jungbluth finished in 7th with Philip Lake in 8th and John Keefe in 9th, and then P10 is rounded out by Martin Krejcik. John Hill finished in 11th, and then Lewis Emerton finished in 12th. They're followed by Clayton McLeod, who ran out of fuel on the last lap despite taking a splash and go. He's 13th. Brian Pitter behind him in 14th, and Mark Cohn in 15th. Sean?
All right, let's knock down the GTO field. Joni Hagner with a big win. I'll say it again. He put on a clinic for everyone. That's how you drive an Audi here at Suzuka. Franco Scurry with a great 2nd place finish. Stayed out of trouble for the most part today, and he is rewarded. Hideki Koivitso takes advantage of Brian Shanahan there at the end, and that'll put him on the podium for 3rd. Brian Shanahan in 4th. Bronislav Robanek with a good race, and he'll finish 5th. Jose Wilcox, hadn't seen him here before, but welcome, and you are rewarded with a 6th place finish, sir. Daniel Oliva, 7th. 8th, going to go to Villarreola, who we saw have trouble. Tough day for him in 8th. 9th, going to go to Ralph Cummins And James Bowen, man, things went wrong for him early in that Nissan, and he'll round out this 25-car field.
With that, let's see if we have any driver interviews, as I've got my screen covered, unfortunately. Yes, we do.
John Keefe.
Keefe. He finished with a top 10 today in 9th, so let's talk to him about what he thought of running Suzuka in the middle of the Daytona 24. John, did you do any stints so far for your team? Are you running the 24 at all?
Yes, I'm running with Pure Motorsports in their third car, and I have the night shift from 6 p.m. to 4 a.m.
Ooh, boy.
East Coast time. And yeah, nothing makes you appreciate these old machines more than coming from, a modern car with traction control and ABS and all that. This thing, I got basically 0 practice this week, maybe 6 laps, and it was a handful. It's not a very easy car to jump back into.
I was going to say, making the mental transition is probably a big struggle as well. Are you pleased with the 9th place then, having started 13th?
I thought I finished 10th. I finished 9th?
Yeah, I got 9th.
Yeah, Clayton ran out of fuel.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Clayton. I didn't know that. Well, yeah, then I'm super pleased. I was pleased that I didn't throw it off the track 15 times throughout the race. So 9th from where I started, definitely. I'll take that.
Yeah, we saw a lot of drivers who certainly seemed to struggle with grip out there, as a few spins and the Nissans certainly gifted some places. Well, in that case, congratulations on a 9th, and hopefully we'll see you next week, maybe a little bit less tired.
Yes, it's time for a nap, and then I'll be back to driving at 6 in about 5 hours. So,
all right.
Go get it, John.
Thank you. Thanks, guys, for doing this.
With that, Sean has caught up with Nicholas Mukanos, who got himself a very good finish today in 4th.
Boy, he really did. And Nick, it almost looked a little effortless, a really clean race for you, man. How'd you do it?
I had a lot of laps of practice and trying to balance that with the 24, but I was trying to keep it together, trying to hold off Clayton, and then hoping something would happen I can catch up, but it didn't work out. But still happy with 4th.
I think Clayton missed the mark on fuel today. Somebody didn't get him the memo.
Yeah, he had good pace in the beginning. I was sweating trying to stay in front of him.
Well, all right. So what are you doing for the 24? Who are you running with?
I think Jamie Hall is racing for us right now, or some of the other Kamel guys. So we got a team. We're not in any of the top splits, but we're trying to finish. It's our first go, so I'll see how it works out.
Well, man, our very best to you. We've participated in several of them now, and it is a grind, brother. If you guys can finish, that's a win. So good luck to you. Listen, balancing both, how was it really? How difficult was it getting amped up for this one?
Yeah, it was tougher for Kamel. The GTE is a little, I'm not going to say easier, but when you're driving that all the time, like John said, you come back into this car, it's quite a change.
Yeah, and it seems like there were several drivers maybe a little caught out today by that change. A lot of difference in times up and down the board for everyone. So it did present a challenge. Are you a fan of Suzuka? Happy to see it on the schedule?
Yeah, I like it here. And I had a good battle with Clayton here in the past, so I was hoping for another one, but we got halfway through, I guess.
Have you ever had a run-in with Godzilla here?
No, not yet. I'm not sure.
Okay. All right. Well, avoid him. If you see him somewhere near the Ferris wheel, just keep driving. Drive right on past him.
And maybe they could add that car to iRacing.
That would be good. That would be good. Nick, hey, thanks a lot, man. Good luck to you and the team here over the rest of the 24. We'll see you next week, man.
Yeah, appreciate it. Good job as always, guys.
All right, Joe, that was Nick Bucanos, and big run for him today. I think he didn't get any incidents. I think he kept it clean.
Yeah, and I thought I saw Mothra here once, but it was unfortunately just Bill's wig being caught by the wind and being carried away. So
who knows? Maybe the next time we come back, we'll have a Ghidra sighting.
Okay, well, let's close up today. And a big thanks to the iRacing Camel GT community for coming back for another season. They were always organized and bring us back to cover them. And we're extremely glad that they love us so much because we love covering this series. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks to Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Justin, Sean, Amjed, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, or you can check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel. We're also on Facebook at /Global Sim Racing Channel. We love interacting with our fans on social media, so definitely give us a poke. Next race, we're staying in Japan. We're going to Motegi. That'll be Saturday, January 27th at 12 p.m. Eastern. However, we also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.